What up, fellow monks? Welcome to the 4th part of Mistweaver Academy. Today we're talking about Mythic Plus. Talents, Legendaries, Conduits and more. This guide is made with the Season 1 of Mythic Plus in mind, and there probably will be another guides for future seasons. As usual, there are timestamps you can skip to watch certain parts. Mistweaver monks leave us something to be desired in dungeon content. Don't get me wrong, it's not like half-bugged thing that we can't even heal a single dungeon. It just feels like something is missing. Shamans have range interrupt and bloodlust, paladins huge damage output, druids are very mobile and flexible, and we apply 5% physical damage buff, yup. So even our group's benefit from it is limited to physical damage dealers. But enough nagging, let's focus on what we can do well and why would you bring Mistweaver Monk to a dungeon. We can boost physical damage, help with kiting quite a lot, contribute DPS while healing at the same time. Also, in the current season of Shadowlands, we can deal with seasonal affix effortlessly. Honestly, for dungeon content you can just go for item level. I use the same gear as for raiding and it works. We still want to get at least 15% haste for Rising Sun Kick cooldown reduction, but the rest is up to you. Same as always, crit and verse are strong and you can't even go wrong with mastery since we cast a lot of Vivifies. Besides that haste threshold, all stats are close to being equal. I will cover all talent rows unlike in raid guides. Utility, mobility and defensive abilities play much bigger role in dungeons and we should consider them as well. Level 15 row doesn't leave us much choice. Mist Trap is very powerful in small groups. Both duration and healing increases are very sought after. You could run Chi Burst if you really want to or know that you won't struggle with healing though. Level 25 row is our mobility pick. All options are relatively close when it comes to our mobility gain with the exceptions of Tiger Lust providing additional utility in form of root removal. It's a very strong ability to have since you effectively have one more dispel if effect is considered a root. It also can be cast on all party members. On level 30, I will risk by saying that only Mana Tea is viable. Life Cycles only saves us mana if you are casting Enveloping Mist in between Vivifies, which happens very rarely in practice. You can take it if you don't feel confident with Mana Tea, but honestly you should get used to Mana Tea as fast as you can. It's a single global you press before damage happens that saves tons of mana. Spirit of the Crane is not worth at all the dungeons. You can't have a comfortable DPS uptime for it to be considered. Level 35 row, which is our crowd control option, doesn't leave us much choice neither. Ring of Peace probably should be baseline ability for all monk specs. You all pick it anyways. It's amazing in every scenario that involves kiting. Tiger Tall Sweep on the other hand could be good, but reducing its cooldown by 10 seconds and radius increase is just not enough to rival Ring of Peace. On level 40 we choose our defensive option. Most Mistweavers run Diffuse Magic, which is very good. The only requirement for it to be used correctly is knowing when we actually take magic damage and not just press it when we panic. Dampen Harm is more flexible since it reduces physical damage taken as well, but it is significantly weaker damage reduction as a trade-off. Healing Elixir is mana-free self-heal that is off global cooldown. It restores 15% of max HP and can hold up to 2 charges. This row is really up to you, you can get most out of Diffuse Magic, but both Healing Elixir and Dampen Harm can be used. For level 45, in my opinion, you should have always Chi selected when running dungeons. It is the tool that allows you to heal Prideful Ad without mana investment. Besides that, it can be used on tyrannical fights that are dragging for too long, but always bear in mind that you should have it up for next Prideful. Refreshing Jadewind requires all our allies to be stacked and it's not impactful enough. Jade Serpent statue is okay for tank healing, but it's no match for Chi. On level 50 row, we can pick either Rising Mist or Focus Thunder. I consider Rising Mist the go-to pick here, although Focus Thunder should get some attention as well. It's more versatile option as it can be used both for boosting DPS as well as saving more mana. Rising Mist on the other hand makes us able to have more Renewing Mist active, which directly helps with our AoE healing. They both work no matter the legendary you will pick, so try them both and see what suits you best. As for legendaries, we have two main options here. First of all, I will discuss a bit less popular pick from Mythic Plus, namely Tear of Morning. It's just passive boost to your healing transferred through Renewing Mists. As previously mentioned, it works with both Focus Thunder and Rising Mist pretty well. It's a more stable option as it has no RNG involved in its healing. The second pick is probably not a surprise. Ancient Teachings of the Monastery offers amazing healing output with minor disadvantages in form of randomness and range. It plays very well with both level 50 talents, although it's a bit better with Rising Mist. Honestly, I am torn on those two. Both have their moments to shine and it's hard for me to value one above the other. Lately I tend to run more dungeons with Ancient Teachings of the Monastery though. As for Conduits, pick what you prefer. Resplendent Mist is always solid pick. As far as it goes for Necrolords, which is my covenant, their Conduit is also pretty powerful boost. In dungeons, trinket combination that I find most useful is one trinket with passive stat boost proc and high impact on use trinket. You can just use the same trinkets I put in the raid guides, but there are two more I'd like to discuss. First one is unused trinket from Sun King's Salvation in Castle Nathria, namely Tuft of Smoldering Plumage. It's a very strong trinket that heals by a fixed amount with an additional bonus the lower the target's health is. It activates after 6 seconds or if the target takes lethal damage. It can save tank or heal someone with heavy debuffs without impacting your mana. Second one is a passive trinket from Hungering Destroyer in Castle Nathria. Consumptive Infusion causes your healing abilities to grant a big amount of leech to your allies provided you use damaging ability earlier. In the Mistweaver's case, it's just free leech for your party members since we cast damaging abilities quite regularly. There's not much to say about your rotation in dungeons, but I will go through it as in depth as I can. Let's start by what we do during our healing downtime. We always focus on keeping Renewing Mist on cooldown and use singular spinning crane kick on pulled pack to apply Mystic Touch, assuming there is no other monk in your party. You also want to throw a few Rising Sun kicks here and there to extend your healing over time effects if you have Rising Mist. On bosses, you do your DPS rotation, which is as simple as using Rising Sun kick when you can, then Blackout kick to reset its cooldown, and then Tiger Palm when my Blackout kick is on cooldown. You can also cast Essence Font in case you are using the Ancient Teachings of the Monastery Legendary. It gives you more DPS uptime as you heal your allies passively. When your tank is getting clapped hard, you just cast Soothing Mist into Enveloping Mist and follow up with Vivify spam until they are nice and comfy. If they die during that period, it means they should have been kiting anyways. This scenario should not happen as often though. If you're playing with good tank, you're probably fine with just throwing Enveloping Mist on them and following up with DPS rotation if you build around it. Group healing is a bit easier with Rising Mist. If you keep your Renewing Mist on cooldown during downtime, you are good to go when damage happens. You are fine with just casting Vivifies then. If group damage is getting dangerously high, consider channeling Essence Font for a brief moment to double your mastery procs. If you are Kyrian or Necrolord, it's perfect opportunity to use your Covenant ability as well. They both boost your mastery healing. As for Thunder Focus, you should tailor its use for the situation. If you have Ancient Teachings buff active, use it with Rising Sun Kick. If you're about to cast Vivify, you can make it free. If your tank is getting annihilated, it's probably a good idea to use it with Enveloping Mist. Now, few words about Ancient Teachings of the Monastery and Essence Font. Don't plan your whole healing output on this legendary. It is too random to be reliable. It is the perfect tool to just support the process of extending Renewing Mist in preparation for heavy group damage or topping people off during healing downtime. Also, don't use too many Essence Fonts for Ancient Teachings buff since you can simply go out of mana. You will get the hang of everything I talked about a rotation by just simply playing Mythic Plus as Mistweaver. Every run is different and I just can't give you the exact order of abilities to press to get through it. I am just mentioning things that have most impact and you should focus on. When it comes to cooldowns, a very important thing is to not hold them for too long with maybe exception of Chi-Ji. It's better to get 4 semi-decent revivals that are dispelling something rather than 1 giga healing party nuke. Let's start with Life Cocoon. This huge absorb shield paired with a healing over time boost should be used on the heavy single target damage. Whether it's tank that put 12 million packs or range DPS standing in poop, just use it on them. Treat it as hot potato that you need to get rid of ASAP, but try to not waste it at the same time. As I already mentioned, Revival works simply as semi-decent AoE heal, party dispel or both. An example where you use it is when 2 of your party members have Burden of Knowledge in Spires of Ascension. It's also extremely good on clearing bursting affix stacks. It allows your party to pull more trash every now and then. I already briefly mentioned Chi usage in talent section, but I'll go through it again. You really want to have it up on Prideful at spawn. At that point you're probably low on mana and there's a lot of healing to do. Chi is perfect answer to that. Just pop it, do your DPS rotation with minor tweaks so you don't waste your stacks, and bam! Prideful is dead and you have your mana back. As for Mana Tea, use it each time heavy group damage happens before you start spamming Vivify or casting Essence Font. Now, some quick tips I can think of. Use your Crackling Jade Lightning to instantly kill explosives from explosive affix. If you want to get singular Enveloping Mist on someone, it's faster to quickly cast Soothing Mist and then Enveloping Mist rather than hardcast it. Use Expel Harm with Soothing Mist for cheap mastery proccing heal. Remember that when you have Prideful buff you can essentially spam your whole party with Enveloping Mist, doing absurd amounts of healing for no mana cost for a whole minute. Use Paralysis as interrupt when you see nobody else is interrupting. Use Revival for clearing bursting stacks. So, that's it for today's guide. If you have any suggestions for the next episode, leave them in the comments. I was thinking about making a whole episode dedicated to Covenant choice. Besides that, maybe mana management guide or some sort of celestial guide, since they quite differ from regular click and forget cooldowns. Those two ideas could be combined into a single video though, since separately they would be too short. I also wanted to thank everyone that's watching my videos, leaving likes and subs. I put a good chunk of my free time into making them and it's heartwarming to see that someone likes them. Anyways, this was Jack from Deadspec, have a good one.